Yes, and start. Sir, I am not going to say who is right and who is wrong. I think it leaves this judgment to the honorable leaders of the opposition. My purpose today is through this house to inform our country what I set out to achieve and how far I have been successful in achieving that. The purpose, the basic thrust of all policies of our country as I see it is to set in motion processes which would enable us to leapfrog in the race of social and economic change so that we can get rid of chronic poverty which still afflicts millions and millions of our people. After India became independent, great progress was made in all directions, but the task of getting rid of poverty to which Prime Minister committed our nation on the 15th of August 1947 is still not complete. When I presented my first budget as finance minister in 1991, I had then referred to both houses of parliament, quoting that no power on earth can stop an idea whose time had come, and I had then suggested to this august house and the other house that the emergence of India as a major global power happens to be one such idea whose time has come, and that is the goal that our government has sought to work on to realize. Whether we have succeeded or not, it cannot be realized in one go, but that is the mission, that is the ambition, and India's foreign policy has to contribute to preservation and strengthening of national security and also to widen our development options. We live in a world which is not a world which we like in all respects, yet it is a fact that interdependence of nations is reality, and that in this interdependent world there is such a thing as power relations. This power in the world is not distributed equally, and we know through history that where there is inequality of power, international relations are fundamentally power relations. Those who are more powerful cannot resist temptation to coerce those who are weak. The United States is today a preeminent power. It is a superpower. It has global interest in many areas. Those interests do not coincide with our interests. Our ambition is to work to create a more just international system in the world. Our country today is admired all over the world. We have the second highest growth rate in the world, and what is more significant is that the world today marvels and respects India for what we are, a country of over 1 billion people with great diversity of beliefs, of religions, and yet seeking its salvation in the framework of a democratic polity committed to all fundamental human freedoms and respect for the dignity of the individual. Therefore, there are opportunities in this unequal system that we have to contend with, and I sincerely believe working with the United States to explore areas of convergence of interests is in our national interest. This does not mean that we endorse everything that the United States does, but in an interdependent world in which the United States count of what you all know, we have to do business, and therefore my effort has been in this visit to help create an international environment which is more supportive of India's development efforts and which in the process widens our development options. Excessive discussion has taken place on the nuclear issue. My first thought when I thought of visiting the United States was not on nuclear issue. I was worried about the state of India's agriculture. The previous government prepared the 10th 5-year plan. It has a target of 4% growth rate of agriculture. We are nowhere in sight. Our agricultural economy seems to have reached a platform where new technologies associated with the Green Revolution, which came about in the mid 60s and 70s, seem to have lost their old dynamism. And therefore, I thought this is an opportunity to use the tremendous advances in human knowledge in biotechnology and related fields to see if we can revitalize our research institutions, our agricultural universities, our extension centers, and that is what is reflected in the joint statement, and I attach great importance to its role in modernizing and expanding the horizons for India's agricultural economy. Therefore, please do not concentrate only on the nuclear issue. Then there is this tremendous infrastructure bottlenecks. The tragedy of Mumbai is very much before us. How inadequate infrastructure has created such a human misery in this premier financial capital of our country. This could happen to any other city. We have been very negligent of infrastructure management. I have calculated that we need at least $150 billion worth of investment in the next 7 or 8 years if we have to modernize our infrastructure, if we have to realize our ambitions of moving on to a growth rate of 8 to 10%. Stop.